session number 15. Remember, we do jump around. It does not go in a straight line. We don't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We jump around a little bit because we're trying to match up our technical sessions with Coursera with test out. So not everything can go in order for to make that happen. So today, I'll be talking about ticketing systems, which in the help desk environment is going to be one of the key tools you will use on a daily basis. Our objectives for this particular technical session are going to be to explain the purpose and role of a ticketing system and tickets in the IT context. We're going to list some common ticketing types. We're going to analyze a simple ticket, identify some major components, what should be on every ticket, critical information we should have, describe how to navigate a ticketing system in order to view tickets, open tickets, captured notes and tickets, things like that. And at the end, we have 2 brief videos on some of the most common ticketing systems that just kind of gives you a quick tour of what they do. So right here, you should be able to click on this link. It'll take you into Google Doc, looks like this. And it gives you common ticketing elements. And the image you have here should help you answer some of the questions that go below. We'll work through that as we go. All right. Did everybody get the link? Other than Devin?
No.
All right, on your screen in the Nearpod, you should have a Google Doc link in front of you where it says sign in. You click on that and it'll take you into, it'll open up another window, give you that document, and then you can work through that a little bit later. But it just kind of gives you a brief breakdown of a ticket, where things go, what a ticketing system may look like. Some of you may have experience with ticketing systems. You've worked in a help desk environment already. All right, so what exactly is a ticket? So I say like we're creating tickets. So in your mind already, what does that mean to you? What are we doing? Galen.
I'd say we're penalizing somebody for something, or like somebody, just a wild guess. In
some context, I guess you could do that. So we usually have, we do have a negative connotation for one. Sorry, who was speaking?
Oh, that was me. I'm sorry, Galen. I was gonna say a ticket. So at my job, I put in like a ticket, I guess, like if something's wrong, technical, right? Put in the ticket and then the IT guy usually answers it. So I'm thinking like a ticket is really just like, not a come right, but like when something goes wrong, you fill out some information and you send it. So it's just like that bit of info what the person is complaining about, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. That does make sense. Artez, you got anything to add to that?
Oh no, I was just gonna say a ticket is when you take the information, like take down somebody's information.
Okay. Okay. Stacy.
It's also a place in line that tells you when you're going to be serviced, is it or no?
It can be. Can be.
And it's a request. Yeah.
It's a request for what?
For help.
Request for help. There you go. I like that. Crystal?
Hello. My experience with the help desk is that the ticket is used to file the customer's IT issue, and it is prioritized based on what the issue is. So like if you got the blue screen of death, then that might be a higher priority than someone who just can't print.
Okay, that is fair. Christine, we'll take one more.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, my experience as a ticketing system is placed for not just issues, but also requests such as access, equipment,
There you go.
moving, locations, a number of things, but it's record keeping basically.
Excellent. I like that. Put a nice little bow on top of that. Thank you, Christine. So it's kind of a work order. Sometimes it's resolving issues. Sometimes it's requesting access or resources. So as these tickets come in, or as calls for help or requests or whatnot come in, we have to have a way to document them and let us know where are we at in the process? What order should we do them? You know, is this super high priority, or do I have 6 months to take care of this problem? So it's essentially what a ticket is. So, and we typically use these, like we said, to kind of prioritize it, organize it, document our findings, because this also can become our knowledge base for our company, especially if we have homegrown software that we're working with. It's not all companies deal with third party. They may create their own software. And if they do, they're going to have internal mechanisms to know how to resolve issues as they come up. So this may be a huge knowledge base on common problems, how to solve them. And if new problems come up and you're the one who resolves them, you have to be able to effectively document it so that those who come behind you can resolve those issues as they see them as well. All right. So we kind of have an idea what a ticketing system is. Can we use our email as a ticketing system? So like what would happen like if all the IT people use their emails to resolve issues? It's really easy. Everybody uses email, right? I can just send I send an email off to DW, even though he's sleeping in his chair, and just say, hey man, can you please take care of this for me? Yes.
Crazy
Christine.
part is that's what I thought they do. I thought everybody handles their tickets through now.
Through email, okay.
Unfortunately, email is not the best source to utilize the ticketing system, only because you may miss something. Someone may be PTO for a day, someone may step away, it might be an urgency. So the ticketing system, usually majority of the ticketing systems have email communication, but it goes directly to the ticketing system itself.
Excellent. They added another question on the bottom, like what if you have a team member that is no longer with the company? When I was in transportation, when I worked for M&R, which was maintenance and repair, we had a ticketing system to handle roadside. But before we had that ticketing system, because nobody had created this, we literally used email and spreadsheets, and it was a nightmare. I didn't know sometimes what my teammates handled. There was 3 of us that covered 24-hour shifts. So there's always just one of us on duty at all times, and we were doing handoffs. Well, I may not know if I start something, if they finish it, if the proper follow-up isn't given. And if there's 200 tickets that come in over a shift and not all of them are resolved, that's a lot of turnover to hand over to somebody without a ticketing system to kind of manage this for you. You have to funnel through everything and make sure stuff falls through the cracks. Poor drivers end up on the side of the road for 8-10 hours thinking that the problem has been resolved, but nobody showed up. It's really not an efficient way. And then some people try to resolve this by creating a group email. So everybody has access to the group email, and then you flag them different colors. We tried this too, where you flag them different colors. Well, here's inevitably what happens. Somebody comes in and they're a rush and they scan through the emails real quick, trying to find a follow-up to one that they're working on that's an emergency. They scan through and they end up basically showing every email as read to find the one that they need, and then not closing out, resealing the emails again. And then when you come in, you see all the emails read, you think they're already read. They're already resolved. Crystal.
Thank you. When you say use your email for the tickets, I thought that the tickets had a system and that you had to go into whatever ticket tracking system your company uses in order to
Mhm.
close out the tickets.
Well, the question is if we don't have a ticketing system in place, can you, why is it a bad idea to just use email?
Okay, I see. So you're saying that it's a bad idea to just use email because the person may be on vacation or they may not be
Yeah.
working there anymore. So then would you have to come up with your own ticket system? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, this is like kind of the process we worked through when I was in transportation is like, because there was
Uh-huh.
literally nothing created for it.
Uh-huh.
And
Okay.
so like initially we started with email and that was a catastrophe. And then we moved on to a universal spreadsheet, which helped, but it was just a ton to manage. I mean, it was just like, you're talking several hundred tickets a day, into a spreadsheet, all that stuff. And you're highlighting them as you close them out. And it just wasn't really workable. It
Okay,
wasn't
thank
user
you.
friendly. It was overbearing, so it was kind of an evolution into what a ticketing system would be to help you kind of manage the stuff. And the note-taking capabilities in a spreadsheet aren't that great. Like I can type in that little cell, but like, searching back through it for individual types of problems is kind of rough. So, Casey.
So would that be that kind of situation where you would propose of change? Like
Yes.
where you would want to implement a system where it would be a bit more cohesive?
Yeah, absolutely. And thankfully for the help desk arena, there's a lot of relatively inexpensive options for help desk ticketing systems if you're with an organization. So they're relatively inexpensive. It's not hundreds of thousands of dollars to get something in place. You're not reinventing the wheel. There's multiple companies out there competing. So if you're with a smaller company, yes, you can recommend it. Say like, look, when I started with this company, there was just 10 of us. Now there's 50 of us. A lot of issues are arising. There's 3 or 4 of us in IT now because it couldn't just be handled by one person wearing multiple hats. We need to have a way to kind of centralize and organize it. I propose that we look at some of these third-party options and see if they're a good fit. So that's absolutely something you could do. Because not all of us are going to go work for, big companies. Not all of us want to go work for big companies. Some of us may want to work for small mom and pops just because it's more personable. You have more of an impact. You can actually gain a broader range of experience. Every day is not going to be the same. Some may want to go work for big organizations. So, but if you're at the smaller company, you do have to be a little more creative with some of this stuff. Yes, Donnie.
So, how would you do a ticket system now? Are there like applications or like programs that all the IT would install that they all work off of?
Yeah, there's actually several companies that offer it as a third-party software, like an app on your phone.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we'll talk about a few of them as we go through here, companies that do it. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel for your own personal organization. So, all right. So some of the main goals for having a ticketing system. Some of this seems obvious, but sometimes we don't catch the obvious things when we're looking at problems. Sometimes the problems get so overwhelming, we can't get our mind beyond the fact that we have a never-ending flood of problems. So some of the main goals of having a ticketing system in place is all of it is located in one place. It's all centrally located. It's not on Fred's email or on Ninja's email, on DW's email. It's not scattered across the whole company and I'm having to go to 5 different people to get information to solve a major issue. Or, hey, what did you do last month when you talked about, the server crashing and marketing? What was it that caused that problem and how did you fix it? I don't have to sit there and track somebody down to get that information. We'll have documentation. So if problems reoccur, we'll already have the solutions worked out. If she hasn't sent the email, I have the PowerPoint and can send it out, Casey. So I may just drop it in Slack because it's just a PowerPoint. I can drop it in Slack for you guys. But she's also trying to get you guys set up for KCC emails. So there are emails flying around about that right now. All right. So all issues located in one place, centralizing it so that it's easy to manage. The data location is there. We can, work off of each other's fixes, learn from each other, all that kind of fun stuff. It allows for built-in tracking of tickets and monitoring. If you're handling dozens of tickets a day, you may forget that I was supposed to call Frances at 3 o'clock. And she's going to get really upset if I call her at 3:15. So I can set up in the ticketing system to alert me, hey, and at least in the next 15 minutes, you need to call her about this ticket, about this issue, and give an update as to what's going on. It may not be for resolution, and that's why you never say, hey, this problem will be fixed in about 15 minutes. Because inevitably, the moment you say that, something is going to go sideways. And then the first thing out of their mouth is, you said this would be fixed in 15 minutes. So you typically respond with, I will give you an update in 15 minutes or 5 minutes or something like that, because then you'll have more time to have troubleshot the problem, seen what the root cause is, and then work towards a resolution. But you don't also want to leave them hanging like, yeah, we'll call you when we have information. 3 months go by, and then you get the inevitable email that I hate from IT, which is, hey, is this problem still going on? I know I forgot to call you back and see if we solved it or anything, but are you still experiencing this? That is a sign of a bad IT group because they're not properly following up. They're going through at the end of the quarter trying to clean up their open tickets and being like, oh man, I forgot about this. So set alarms, set regular checkups if you have issues, or if these issues are going to take a extended period of time to fix, like more than a couple hours and stuff like that. You want to regularly check in with the customer, follow up, see what's going on. Yes, Crystal.
So thank you for choosing on me. When, if that were to happen, Kelly, and life happens or whatever, and you may miss a ticket, could you say, hi, I'm just following up to find out if you're still having problems with this or if this ticket was resolved. Are you still, I'm following up to find out how was the service with this ticket? Could you allude to the fact that it's just following up and not that you just forgot about the ticket?
Yes, you could, but here's the thing. The IT department that I used to deal with, that was the rule, not the exception. Almost every single ticket I called in, inevitably, I never heard back. 3 months later, I would get an email from IT saying, hey, is this still a problem? So if it's the exception, people tend to not have an issue with it. But if every single time they have an issue, you're setting a pattern of behavior. So when they call you, because as when I would call my IT, I was literally just going through the motions. I had no anticipation that they were actually going to resolve my issue. I was doing it because once I had the issue, my boss would say, call IT. And my general response is, what's the point? Because they didn't have good customer service, good follow-up. And every time I had this situation where I get that email 3 months later saying, hey, did this issue get resolved? So, but yes, absolutely. I understand things fall through the cracks. Nobody is perfect. Nobody is expecting perfection. When the problem occurs, so hey, I'm sorry we haven't reached out to you in a while on this. I just wanted to follow up and just make sure everything was okay and that this problem has been resolved for you. And then you can update the notes, close out the ticket. If you have a member of your team that is continually not checking up, then your supervisor should be addressing that, because that is going to be hurting the reputation of the entire team. And out of the gate, IT already has a bad reputation for customer service. We're here to try to change that, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Alright.
we're gonna be so good
That's what I'm
We're
saying.
gonna be like featured in movies, and we're gonna be like
Confidence.
futuristic.
Right out of the gate. Right out of the gate. Confidence.
We're gonna look
All
so
right.
good. They're gonna want to have to be IT guys.
They're gonna
That's
call you
cool.
just to say hi, you know, because it was such a great experience. Yes, Christine.
And we're
There's-
and
it's
we're
gonna be
gonna
an
look good while
entertainment.
doing it, guys. We're not gonna look like you know,
Can you hear me?
typical nerds.
There you go. Yes, we can hear
Can
you,
you hear me?
Christine. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I will say this, a lot of people in IT, like when I first started in IT, they didn't even say good morning, good afternoon, good evening. They didn't announce their names. It was just like service desk, what do you want?
Mhm.
And I came from a background of customer service. So when I got on the phone, like my manager heard me and immediately changed the entire script for how we greet.
There you go. And you probably got requests like, hey, when they called in and got that person that just said, you know, IT or help desk, how can I, you know, what's your problem? They would probably be like, yeah, can you put me on the phone with Christine, please?
Oh yeah, they still do. They can't get rid of my line, and we literally changed systems, but they refuse to get rid of my line because people don't want to talk to anybody else. It's kind of annoying at this point.
Well, there you go. And then, you know, so what they need to do is they need to make you a team leader or supervisor and have you train the others in customer service. That's what I'm saying.
That is exactly what I do, actually. I am the coordinator.
Hey, there we go. Beautiful. I love to hear stuff.
I
like
knew that was coming.
Excellent. So, kind of continuing on, it allows for easy analysis of tickets. So as you get certain symptoms, you can actually do a quick, easy search for these types of symptoms and see if they've come up before. One of the key skills that an IT professional needs to have is they need to be an expert Googler. You may not have thought this, but
that is
yes,
the most true thing on the planet.
Say it again,
Yes.
please, Kelly. Say that again.
In order to be a really, really good help desk person, you have to be an expert Googler.
When you know
Can you elaborate
how
on
to
that?
Google stuff,
It's the literal truth.
it's like you. This is why a lot of people don't really understand that IT is not as hard as some people may think.
Shh, that's my job you're talking about, dude.
Hey, listen. We all here. We already here. All right. Let's at least help everybody get across, you know? When you're doing something and you can't necessarily try, or you can't get it off the top of your head, you do have the tools in front of you that you can use in order to do it. The only reason why the person that is calling you is not doing it is because they don't have jurisdiction to do so. And if they mess it up more, then they get in trouble for it.
Or they don't know how to Google.
That's
part of why
true.
we're here is we're learning some key terms and phrases, and those key terms really make it critical when you are searching for something. Like we mentioned on day one, we haven't really got into networking yet, but if I say, why can't I get on the internet? I'm going to get 10 million searches. Have you tried plugging it in? Have you tried turning it on and off yet? You know, have you tried, you know, like just a laundry list of things. But if I sit there and say, okay, I'm getting an EPIPA address, I can't access my DHCP server. My DHCP server is not responding. And then it'll give you much more specific actions to look into and take.
So you can do that?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
There's actually there's a hierarchy of things we'll get to in just a second. Crystal and then Francis, and then we'll jump on to the next one here real quick.
I was just going to respond to Aminata and say that when you're what I gathered from Kelly's comment about being an expert Googler is that you have to be specific with your Google question or your scenario, whatever you may be working on. And so that's what I kind of gathered from that comment, like, I am Intel processor, whatever, 1996, hard drive crash. You know what I mean? Like be specific about your question so that Google can pull up the help that you need to get through that issue. That's what I gathered from it.
Yes, absolutely.
So Kelly,
And
with
go ahead.
that being said, is there like a format where they have like the issues and the instructions? Like, you know, like our own little like cheat sheet. That's what I'm trying to.
Directory, the
Well, yeah, I
documentation.
mean, see, here's how it'll work. Here's roughly how it'll go. The call comes in. First, you're going to go through your own personal knowledge. Like, oh, I know how to solve this. I don't even need to check. So you can work the problem out yourself. Next, you would go through your internal documentation, which would be your ticketing system, where you can look up specific symptoms, work through the problems if they've occurred before. It'll tell you what they went through to fix that problem. No answers there, no answers in you. Next, you try Googling. So you start searching through Google and see if you can find anything. You go to forums, YouTube, you know, Reddit. There's several places you can go and look. Nothing occurs there. Then you go to a teammate and say, hey, have you seen this before? And only then, after you've exhausted all those options, do you go to a supervisor. But you need to be able to work through this process quickly. And that comes with time and practice, which is what you're going to get. So yes, there are pathways, and there are, especially in the beginning, it's going to be like, yeah, you do X, Y, Z to solve this problem. And then you'll work through it. The next time you come see it, okay, I know I got to do X, Y, Z. I've done this 10 times. So you develop a toolbox in your mind over time. Does that make sense? Okay, Francis.
So some of those resources that are great to use when you're Googling, and that will likely come up as a great resource and result every time you do, is Tom's Hardware and Spice Networks. Great community blogs there, help you resolve a lot of issues, great reporting. And then also one of the best requests that I ever had was to please come adjust the Google.
Please go adjust the Google. We had fun ones based off of our servers. So we had some server, because we were a global, the company I worked for was global. So we had some servers here in the US, we had some in Central and South America, we had some in Europe, we had some in Asia. Now, the way they had it set up is if a local one went down, then you immediately got routed to another one, so there was never downtime. And the closest one to us, I believe, was in Mexico City when the US one went down. So all of a sudden, if they went down and you rebooted during that time, all of your Google results would come in Spanish, because the VPN is seeing you in Mexico City. So that was always entertaining. But come fix the Google. I like that. You will get entertaining requests, and you've got to be able to keep your cool, not laugh, but we'll get into some of that stuff as you know in other technical sessions. So we'll talk about escalation. We'll talk about working with customers, especially like irate ones or silly requests like what Francis just brought up. So centralization allows for an easy analysis of tickets. It gives you that centralized knowledge base where you can work through common issues, stuff like that. Really, really helpful, especially when you're in tier one. Tier one, you're going to be expected to almost exclusively work out of the knowledge base and the ticketing system. They're not going to be expecting you to go out to Google a lot in tier one. Now, those who are a little more ambitious and start solving those other problems and are able to do those in a pretty quick manner, you will move up to tier two pretty quickly. But starting out, everybody starts somewhere. That's why they call it entry level. You will be working mostly out of a ticketing system. All right, it helps prioritize the workflow. What's that big fancy word for prioritizing our workflow?
Triage.
Triage.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, Adriel. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to steal your spotlight, man.
Just jump right to the front of the line and go for it.
I'm sorry. I had a little
It's
too much
fine.
coffee, guys.
Hey, it's good. It's all good. So prioritizing our workflow or triaging the tickets as they come in. What is the highest priority? You know, if somebody in marketing is unable to get into their email versus the entire accounting department losing their server, which is more important?
The
I
server.
hope. There we go. The server down. Why? Why do you think it's the server?
Multiple people.
It's multiple people, right?
Not to mention you need money. You can't just be wasting time like that, you know?
Well, it's completely stopping their ability to do work, right? Marketing still can probably continue to work without email, or they can go online and sign in, you know, to like the Microsoft server or whatever. You know, it may just be that their local Outlook is not working. So you might be able to get a quick workaround and they would continue to be able to work. Where if the entire department is down, that can bring the entire business unit to a screeching halt. So prioritization. Next, it fosters collaboration and communication. You may not be able to solve this issue, but your teammate may. You know, I'm better at networking. Adrio's better at telecoms. Telecom issue comes in, I start working on it. I can't figure it out. I can go to Adrio and say, hey man, can you help me out with this? And I can probably learn something in the process. So it allows that collaboration. And you can document this entire flow in the notes of the issues. Also, it ensures continuity as different IT professionals help the same client. So if you're bringing somebody on board, they need to get brought into all these different systems. They may be given hardware, like we may be giving them a phone and a laptop and all this kind of stuff, and they have to be, you know, getting all the proper security clearances. They may need to get, you know, passwords to all these different programs. And a singular person may not be able to handle all of these issues, but they may be able to handle a piece of it. So they'll sit there and say, okay, first we need to make sure they have all the hardware they need. So I've assigned them a laptop and a phone. Boom. Next, I'm handing it off to DW. DW is now going to get them their passwords. Boom. He gets that done. Next, he gets handed off. They get the security clearance for whatever they may need or authorization. Boom. You know, so it may be siloed that different people are handling different aspects of this. Questions so far? All right. So let's go through these real quick and tell me if you think this is a common issue or not. George, my computer's too slow. Downloads are taking too long. Is that common or uncommon?
Common.
Seems very common, right? SK, the Wi-Fi keeps disconnecting. Is that a common problem or an uncommon problem?
Common.
Very common. Devin, I can't log in.
Common.
Way more common than we wish. Madison, my mouse isn't working.
I want to say it's common.
Mouse may be less common, but touchpad for sure. But
because I'm having issues with my Chromebook. Touchpad, terrible.
Touchpads, yeah, you tend to have issues with that. But we'll get into some common issues that come up and stuff like that in later ones. We'll talk about it. And
So if the mouse is a problem, is there any way that we can fix it? Because I always think about buying a new one. I don't know. Is it an option to fix it?
Yeah, sometimes it could just be the mouse is not calibrated properly. It could just be that it's not plugged in right. If it's a Bluetooth mouse, it may be that it, you know, keeps losing connection or the battery's getting low. So yeah, there's usually there is a fix. Very rarely is it a hard, you know, this item is not working anymore and it must be replaced. Especially with things like, you know, mice and keyboards, there's usually not an overabundance of them failing. We will get to that, Amia. Yes, Casey.
This is disgusting and this happened, but sometimes a lot of the you think like you might have dropped the mouse and like that's why it's not working. It's this skin from your hands and
Oh, yeah.
like yeah,
Especially in the old ball mice that you had to pull out and clean all the goop off of it.
Yeah, it's satisfying, but it's disgusting.
Mhm.
That's happened
Oh, yeah.
before. I was like, what's going on? It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was why we loved when they had the optical mice come out. Although it allows for better pranks because you put clear tape across it and it can't register the table and stuff. But they look at it and there's no problem.
That's very mean. Or you put Sharpie on the laser.
You don't even need to put Sharpie. You just put tape and it only registers the tape. Because the tape works as a diffuser and it picks up on the tape itself.
Man,
so it's even worse.
Kelly. I don't know.
Yeah. Problems of a misspent youth. So Francis, the printer is not printing. Common or uncommon? I had to ask.
It's so common. And let me say, at least in my field, it's always because they select the wrong paper type.
Yep. Or printer. I got a couple stories for that when we get to the printing technical session. Let's see here. Brianna, the resolution on my screen is not clear. Common or uncommon?
You mean the image?
Yeah, the resolution on my screen is not clear.
That sounds uncommon. Wait, is it a YouTube video or in general?
Just like general, let's just say the whole screen.
Oh, then I would say uncommon. For YouTube, it's pretty common though.
That'd be relatively uncommon, but at YouTube, it may be a download issue, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're getting that pixelation. We'll explain that when we get to networks. All right, sound on my computer is not working. Donnie.
I'd say common.
Yep, that is a common one. Galen, I accidentally deleted some files that I need, and I forgot to back up my data.
Uncommon.
Uncommon?
Common.
I would say common, yes, common. This does happen a lot. I accidentally deleted it and then emptied the recycle bin. And then formatted my hard drive, all completely by accident. But yeah, it is relatively common for somebody to accidentally delete files. Hopefully they don't do it from the share drive. See here. Cynthia, my computer keeps shutting down and restarting. Common or uncommon? Yeah. Christine, common or uncommon? My computer keeps shutting down and restarting.
Not common for me.
It's not extremely common. But it does happen. Okay, now we have to think of an office setting. Set the stage. Office setting. Ramon, the keys on my keyboard are sticking.
It can be a common problem because everyone drinks and probably works around their keyboard.
Yes.
Drinks.
Yes, absolutely, Ramon. Yes, Francis.
I want to go back to the shutdown as well. Just something that most people may not realize. It might not be specifically the computer's issue, such as if you had a row of cubicles, sometimes it could be the furniture whip, which supplies the power to the strips at the bottom of your cubicles. So that's something also that you might have to deal with.
Okay. So mental note, don't work in a prairie dog farm. So, okay, I hadn't thought of that. I had not thought of that, Francis. So yeah, keys.
It's all my experience.
Well, that's wonderful. Like I said, every cohort I learn from the students too, and I enjoy that. But the keyboard sticking thing, first thought that's going to come to your head is like, stop eating at your desk, because I promise you, if you have to clean out a keyboard, there's some really nasty stuff that can come out of there. Partially eaten Cheetos that have been soaking in coffee. And if they drink soda, you know, it's just like a kaleidoscope of nasty colors across the top of the keyboard. You just really don't want to deal with that on a daily basis. So, you know, generally have a rule. Don't eat at your desk. Like, I have a beverage, but it is quite literally 90 degrees on a different table away from my computer, just so I don't even run the risk of doing that. You know?
You can't just recommend rice, you know?
Well, that doesn't work for everything, because what if
I
it's
know.
debris? You know, if it's sugar and debris, like it's like soda, it's usually the sugars and stuff that create that stickiness that cause the keys to stick down and stuff.
It's rough. It's rough.
Yeah, it's don't miss it. Don't miss it. I mean, you see somebody eating at their desk, like they're eating like Cheetos is like the worst one, because it gets like all the cheese all over your fingers. And what's the next thing the person does? They start licking their fingers, and then they're touching their keyboards. You're like, I am never sitting at your desk.
Ew, that's disgusting. Licking your fingers and doing that, that's where I draw the line.
Yes, but
Okay.
people do it.
No, when people eat Cheetos and then they play on their controller, that is the worst thing ever.
Okay, I gotta say this, Brianna. Have you ever seen it? They have the chopstick thing that like sits between your fingers, and so like it sticks out so you can play, and then you can grab food without getting your fingers dirty. Most
That's
awesome
insane.
invention ever.
Just wash your hands.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I hope things change after COVID.
All
I
right,
hope so.
being honest though, how this is probably more towards Francis. But like, how rude would it be if you were to put like gloves on before you touch their computer? Because like, if you think about it, like your phone is as
Show up in a
dirty
full
as toilet.
hazmat suit.
And if you think about it, like, unless you really love your computer, you don't clean it, right? Like the mouse, the keyboard, what you were just saying about licking your fingers and eating, like, is that disrespectful? Is that where like you're like, okay,
There's a reason why I never let my kids near my computer.
So what I've done to segue that, especially because like, I mean, we're low cost here. We will reuse everything. I will say, hey, I got a present for you, and it'll be a brand new keyboard. And they're always appreciative, like, oh, wow, great, thanks, that's so cool. I just give them a new keyboard.
That's funny. I mean, and that can work. And, you know, and a lot of times you will have a supply closet that, you know, if you have people coming and going, and the company grows and shrinks over time, and you'll acquire a lot of things like monitors, printers, keyboards, cables, all that kind of fun stuff. So you'll have a relatively decent inventory. I worked in a small office locally here, and it was shocking how much stuff they had in their supply closet. Like 20, 30 monitors at any given time. You know, the power cords for laptops. Oh my goodness, they had an entire file cabinet full of them, categorized by type. You know, it was, you know, crazy the inventory you can develop over time. In any case, many of these are common issues that you will come across on a regular basis in the IT field. So when we're logging a ticket, there are key pieces of information that we need to have. First being ticket number, because that's kind of like your purchase order or work order. It's how you're going to look up that ticket from that point on. Though, you know, your customer needs that ticket number. So when they call in, say, hey, I'm calling in on ticket number 15732A, you know, and you're like, okay, let me punch that in. It pulls up their information. You're ready to go. You know, different systems use different numbering systems. It may be sequentially, it may be based on what silos you put it in. It could be based on priority, what have you. Each ticket needs to have a date and time. When you receive the ticket, any updates that are made to the ticket, like notes, any of that stuff, Every time you touch that ticket, it should get a date and time stamp. So that'll give you an idea if the ticket has been abandoned or if it's been resolved, what have you. And then you have a closeout date. Also, who the heck called it in? If it says urgent, email's not working, and you have no clue who it is because the person who received it was like, well, I know it's Timmy. Nobody else will know it's Timmy because they come behind you, right? So you need to have their information, name, contact information, all that stuff. How do you get in touch with them? What's their preferred method of contact? Is it phone call, email, text message? What? Instagram? Hope not. You know, how do you get in touch with them? Also, it needs to identify you as the creator of that ticket. You were the first person to receive that call. So if there are any questions as to what else may have been going on at that time, somebody can come to you and get things answered. And then finally, what kind of issue are they having? Many systems will have a generalized bucket that you can put that information in. Sometimes it's hard to fit them into any one bucket because it may hit multiples, but you would just hit the one that's most prevalent at the time. You kind of get better at it over time. Next, ticket source. How did you become aware of it? Was it the person who just called it in? Or was it their supervisor saying, I'm calling because Madison's having an issue? Or was it Madison who called in herself because she was experiencing it? So how did it originate? Was it over the phone? Was it like they flagged you down in the parking lot saying, oh, thank goodness you're here. My computer stopped working. You know, how did you become aware of this? Summary or description of the problem. Include as many details as you can get. You're not writing a novel. You need to be quick, concise, to the point. A, B, C, D is happening. Don't use abbreviations. Don't make assumptions. We'll get into documentation in another technical session, but for now, because abbreviations can be misunderstood, don't use slang, because if you're dealing, especially with like a multinational company, what some slang terms mean here are going to be completely different from somewhere else. Priority level. Is this urgent? Does this need to be taken care of right now? Do they use levels? Do they use numbers? How do they prioritize? You will be trained on this, obviously, before you go live, but you would need to set the level on this if you're triaging this ticket. Status of the ticket. Is it new, open, resolved, closed? And finally, work log. These are your notes. Every time you touch that ticket, notes need to be made. I spoke with the customer, gave the update. Here's where we're at right now. Here are the fixes I have attempted. As of this point, problem is not resolved. Told customer I would reach back out in 24 hours to give an update on the problem. Should give a date and time stamp at that point. Questions so far? Yes, Adrian.
So it's really just about being concise. Like I don't like saying it like this because then it kind of sounds like it's bad, but just being as professional as possible, I guess.
Yeah, it's being professional and brief, but concise. Like you want to deliver the information.
It's just getting everything
efficiently
to the
as
next
possible.
person. Yeah.
Yeah. You're not writing this for yourself. So it's not, don't use your shorthand. So this is not you writing a note to yourself. You're writing this note so that 5 years from now, if this problem comes up again, somebody can look at your ticket and say, okay, I know what to do.
Okay.
But we're not writing a novel either. We don't need somebody to, grab a glass of wine, sit down, they're going to be there for a while and go on this wonderful journey of solving the great email crisis of 2022. You know, we want them basically to look at it. Here's the quick bullet points you need to have, and then move on with your life. Does that answer your question, Adriel?
Hey, Kelly.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Can we go back to the last slide for like 30 seconds or 15 seconds?
Yes.
Thank
You're
you.
already at 10, 9, 8. I'm kidding.
Thanks, Kelly. I'll check it again when we go to the other notes.
No worries. Remember, we also got it in Slack, so it's there. All right. It wouldn't be a technical session if we didn't give y'all a quiz. Go ahead and pause the recording here. Yeah, Adriel, when we get to security, I'll have to show you some of the books that I have on my shelf. I know I'm on a list after some of the books I bought for security.
Yikes. They looking at you. They're like,
I got books on open source intelligence gathering. I got books on bypassing multi-factor authentication, memory forensics.
So everything that you would have to do for like brute force or just
I actually do have one for brute force. It's at like password management. But the thing is hackers and cybersecurity use the same tools. It's not the tools that are bad, it's the method in which they're used.
Yeah. That's why it scares me so much. That's why I couldn't do it. It's too much. It's way too much responsibility, especially when it becomes something where you need security clearance.
Are Zendesk, SolarWinds, Teamweaver, Salesforce, Freshdesk, and Teamwork Desk. So those are some of the most common ones you'll see in enterprise environments today and small businesses. Again, if the company's large enough, they may want to build their own system, but more often than not, mid to small companies will use something along these lines. I believe like Generation uses Salesforce and Desk.com. So, all right, with that, it's video time. Oh, I gotta share sound.
I've seen Zendesk, not advertised, but
as someone in charge of customer service, you have to keep track of all the emails.
That autoplayed. I wasn't trying to cut you up.
Like they always want somebody, if you're going for a help desk job, to have some type of experience with Zendesk, and I didn't know what it was until now.
And some of these actually have trial things you can get where like it'll allow like one person or something like that, and you can sit there and just practice on it, create fake tickets, and just get some experience with it. One thing that you got to get comfortable with in an interview setting. Nobody's an expert at everything, but you need to get comfortable with the term "I'm familiar with that." That doesn't mean you're an expert.
I'm gonna start saying that more.
I am familiar with that, you know. Oh, yeah, I'm familiar with that. That's, you know, it does this, this, and this. Okay, yeah. You know, hardest job in IT is your first one. Some of us in here already have their first one, but they're looking for a better one, you know, or they're just looking to sharpen their skills. All right.